Welcome to Beyond Rockets. Hope you're having a great day. My name is Clark Dunn and I'm your host. Get ready to enjoy some awesome conversations from Huntsville locals about cool work they are doing right here in the Rocket City. You can connect with us on social media at Beyond Rockets, and if you're interested in doing a podcast yourself, I'd love to hear from you. You can visit my website, beyondrockets.com today, or connect with me on LinkedIn at Clark Dunn. Sit back and enjoy this episode of Beyond Rockets. So welcome to the podcast. Excited to have you here today. Would you like to introduce yourself before we get started there?
Yeah, so I'm Andrew Cummings. I own Apex Chiropractic and Functional Wellness here in Huntsville, Alabama. We're over on Whitesburg Drive, and we opened up in May.
Yeah, and so you're originally from Rome, Georgia. You were in Birmingham prior to coming here. Talk a little bit about your background, kind of what ultimately led you from Rome, Georgia to Birmingham. And I think you actually thought potentially Huntsville was going to be the spot before Birmingham. So talk a little bit about all of that.
Yeah, so Rome is where I'm from. I played collegiate basketball at Berry College, so I had a niche in movement, fitness, exercise, and so I kind of chose the chiropractic pathway. With that, my wife moved to Charleston while I was in chiropractic school. She loved it over there. I visited all the time. It just ended up for us to move to Birmingham for both of our professions, so I got a job there. She got a job there as well. We did think for a while that we were going to be in Huntsville, and so we bought her car here originally.
Oh, wow.
So we loved Huntsville area. It's pretty close to Rome.
What did you did you visit Huntsville while you lived in Rome? Like, how did when was what was your first, do you remember the first time you came to Huntsville?
Yes, it was actually to buy her vehicle. So we were living in Rome. I was about to graduate school. We were still looking at cities and areas to go to. This was after she moved back from Charleston. We were looking to buy a car. We came to the Lexus dealership here in Huntsville, and we were like, man, this place is actually pretty nice. There's some things to do.
Was that like 2022?
Yeah, I would say 2023, 2024. So I graduated 2024. So it was roughly around that time frame, maybe a year before. We loved it, and we were like, maybe that would be a good spot for us to look at. We kind of toured the area, and it just so happened that Birmingham was where we were supposed to go originally, but we got brought back here, and we're super excited about it.
Yeah, so you were in Birmingham for 2 years, kind of an associate at a chiropractic practice.
Yep. So I was an associate there. It was a fantastic learning experience for me. Having someone that can teach you nuances of chiropractic practices and services for patients. They had been in practice for quite some time.
So it was a pretty big practice that you were at?
It was pretty big. So we would see anywhere on the upper end 60 patients in a day, but most of the time it would be within that 30 to 50 to 60 patient range.
And that was your first sort of job post-graduation?
It was, yeah. So obviously we have the clinical aspect of it in the program itself. So when you finish up with the academia portion, you go straight into clinicals. Outside of clinicals, yeah, that was my first job. So
and is the clinicals in the same location that you do? Because I know, for med school, you could do your rotation, or you could have residency somewhere else.
Yeah.
Was that at the same location for chiropractic, or did you actually do your clinicals in Birmingham, and then kind of that transition was super smooth?
So the clinicals at Life University, where I went to chiropractic school, are split into two separate things. So there's a duality of clinicals. You'll have inpatient clinics. So from quarter 10, I think, to 12 or 13, you're doing inpatient on-campus clinic stuff. So student adjustments, if you have friends, family, they come in, you have to have a certain amount of number adjustments. And then after that, for our peak, which is like our residency program, you can go out and work for someone. It was obviously free, but you have to get a certain amount of adjustments. So I did that in Rome. So I finished my inpatient clinic on campus, and then I went to Rome to finish it up before I graduated.
Yeah, and so you start your kind of first career job post-school in Birmingham, and you were in Birmingham for 2 years before you kind of come up here. Did you know when you first started, did you know at what point during your either college or first in the career itself, job, did you kind of have the inclination or the idea that maybe I want to start my own practice? Do you remember that moment? Because there's a transition, I think, for anybody, even if it's in the medical field or in that sort of health-related career or just an entrepreneur in general, that switch happens where it's like, maybe I could do this for myself.
Yeah, I think going into chiropractic, the profession in and of itself, always having that thought in the back of my mind of, wouldn't it be really cool if I could not only help and serve people, but do it in my own space? So there was always that notion of wanting to do it. Obviously, there's a timeline of when it becomes a reality or when it's something that can actually happen. I would say that happened for us in Birmingham. Obviously, my wife and I knew that we wanted to open something up. We just didn't have a specific timeline, but I think getting my feet wet, working in Birmingham for quite some time, and really just establishing a strong technique and value and understanding of chiropractic and how I could better serve people, that's kind of when that spark lit of, man, I really think I could open up something and serve people that way.
Yeah, and so you moved up here to Huntsville, I think maybe for your wife's job, and then shortly, I mean, you've only been in Huntsville not even a year.
Yeah.
December you moved here, so you're approaching, I guess, your 6 months
Mhm.
you've been here, which is crazy to think. And then in that 6 months, you moved to a new city that you were somewhat familiar with,
Right.
but obviously living here is different than just visiting here,
Of course.
to starting your own business, to opening the doors, to now talking on a podcast about your business.
Yeah.
So quite the whirlwind of 6 months here. What was that process of moving here in December to kind of, "Hey, I think I wanna, make Huntsville the spot for my own practice."
Right.
What was that journey from maybe finding that location, which is on Whiteford Drive, which I drive by? I think when we first were on the call, I was like, "I
Yeah.
drive by your location twice a day at least on the
Yeah.
way to and from work." So it's a great location.
It is.
Was there other locations? What was that process like? Take me through,
Yeah.
because I'm assuming that was probably January-ish that January, February, you were
Yeah.
kind of scouting locations.
So yes, there's never a better time than now. And so it's always easy to say like, oh, I want this timeline to work out. Let's envision, this date, this time. My wife is just a super go-getter. And so for her, it was, let's just figure it out. And so I probably wouldn't be open right now if it wasn't for her in
Wow.
regards to the timeline.
Yeah.
But we just put our faces together, our heads together and got to it. And from the moment we knew we were moving to Huntsville, which was in that early December range, we started planning. So looking at, geographical locations, median household incomes, where the office might be best situated.
Mhm.
And we just wanted to be somewhere centrally located, so downtown. We also wanted it to be located near where we spent most of our time, right? So she's also in downtown. We want to live in the area. And so for us, it would be really cool to find a spot. So we just came down, ventured it over and looked it up. And we found a good spot and put our offer in, our bid in, and made a great connection with the property manager there and just went from there.
Yeah, and so was there other, like, did you have 2 or 3 spots that you were like, "Okay, we like all 3 of these, we'd be happy with any of these.
Yep.
Let's logistically then think, okay, what's the cost gonna look like? What's the investment gonna look like? What's the build out gonna look like?" Like, was there other spots besides that Whitesburg location?
There were maybe 1 or 2 more, but I wouldn't say that there was any serious consideration. The spot that we got, allowed for us to not have to do a large build out. So
Mhm.
that was the big draw for us. One, obviously Whitesburg Drive, you're gonna get a lot of foot traffic, a lot of, people seeing your space.
Yeah.
But also the fact that we didn't have to do an expensive build out
Mm.
because we loved how the space was situated.
Okay.
Obviously, we did some things, so we painted, we did the flooring, we put a frosted glass piece over for logo branding, but we didn't have to knock any walls down or build anything or
Mm.
set anything up.
So
That
that
was
process of you kinda signing that lease to opening the doors could happen pretty quick.
it was very quick, yeah. So I think we initiated the conversation with property manager, kind of got that lease situation going in 1 month, and then the next month we got the keys, and then like 2 or 3 weeks later we were painting the walls and doing the floors, and
Wow.
it was a very quick turnaround, and so we were really lucky and blessed by that.
Yeah, and so, I mean, you opened the doors in May.
Yep.
So we're recording this the end of June. You've been open month and a half, maybe going on, I guess, 2 months now.
Yeah.
Um, what was kind of that first, obviously, you're living in a new market, you're living in a new space, you're new to the area, you're a new practice in the area. What was that kind of, how did you start? What was the initial first steps that you took to kind of begin building out your clientele? Like, you're in a business that you need people in the door,
Yeah.
and you need people in the door quickly.
Yep.
How did you kind of go about uh, building that out? And I think then we'll kind of transition into the services, because it's not just chiropractic that you do.
Correct. I would say the biggest thing was just getting out in the community, putting a face to the name. And so once we obviously, got the logo and got the branding and got everything situated, the biggest step was to, one, start social media, but also just join some sort of community organization. So we joined the chamber. I've gone to a ton of events there. I've been going around organically just to meet other business owners and say, hello, this is me, this is our business. And for them to say, I've seen this guy, I've seen the branding, he's not a complete weirdo. It helps for sure.
Yeah.
I would say just boots on the ground, getting out, organically meeting people, and just building that community.
So how has the first 2 months gone? I mean, obviously, you're probably you're 60 days into this business.
Yeah.
60 days into being a business owner, 60 days of operating and owning a business here in Huntsville, and your 6 months of being here in
Right.
Huntsville. What does that first 60 days look like?
It's actually been really good. And so we obviously had projections for loans and variables,
Yeah.
and there's so many things that you don't know or you can't foresee, right? You
Yeah.
can't force someone to walk in the doors. You really just have to be authentic, put what you have out there, and hope for the best. But it's been really good. So we've done very well so far, and we've served a good many people, and we're looking forward to serving more. But
Yeah.
what I wanted to do, what I strive to do is get word of mouth referrals. I
Mm,
love organic word of mouth because those are what matter most,
yeah.
right? I can Google ad and Facebook meta ads, and those are great. But as far as getting people to really understand and appreciate what we do, taking care of the person in front of us and allowing them to spread the word has been a true game changer for
Yeah,
us.
and I mean, I think Huntsville, even though we're a community that is growing like crazy, we're very much a word of mouth community. Like,
Right.
I think about the business that we've created, and it's been one of those very much word of mouth. Like, we haven't really ever paid for Google ads, or
Yeah.
we haven't ever run ads. We've grown organically from people coming on the podcast.
Right.
We've grown organically from just being out and being seen. And I think that's a great spot to be. Obviously, you're in a business that you get to a point, and I mean, I would say, maybe those projections and those ideas of what the business you would want to look like maybe a year from now.
Right.
Maybe you have other doctors in there with you, and you're able to then at that point, it's not just you. You're having to stay busy. You're having to also support someone else,
Yeah.
and then it becomes, maybe there is more ads and more things going on. But like right now, growing organically is such a great spot to sit. Um, you're more than just chiropractic. So talk a little bit about kind of that service and that experience, because it's not you're not a one-stop shop, but you do a variety of things that maybe people that are listening are going to multiple places to do things that you can kind of all do in one stop.
Yes. So I like to think of it as a large toolbox. And so chiropractic is our foundation. That's our bread and butter. That's what we do most of. It's our cornerstone, but we have so many different things that we can also utilize to offer health and wellness for our patients. And so I've done a certification for advanced dry needling. I've done some cupping, some kinesiotaping certifications, body tempering, fascial work. And so when you look at the entire musculoskeletal system, obviously there's a duality. And chiropractic is going to target specifically that skeletal piece. But if I can do other things to kind of target the musculo portion, I just have seen a exponential growth in
Mm.
patient pain resolvement or range of motion improvement, just feeling better in general. And so those are the things that we do in addition to. Now, obviously, we'll have patients who will come in, and we like to focus on root cause care. And so what that looks like is, why do you feel the way you do? How can we get you out of that and then keep you well? So obviously, chiropractic is going to be a part of that, but so are the other tools
Mm.
that we utilize. And so that will range from ergonomic coaching and assessment to postural analysis to just a deep dive into, previous medical health experiences, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and so I think, like, what would be your ideal, like, who do you see, like, age range or, like, demographic coming in to chiropractic? I think the first time I went to a uh, went and had that done, I was probably, like, elementary school,
Yeah.
like, playing baseball, threw arm out, like, started going to like, started doing that. So it's like, is it for anybody at any age range? Do you recommend at certain times? Like, how often? Like, what does that typically look like? Obviously, every patient's different.
Right.
Their needs are different. Their kind of what they're looking for as an end result's different. But what is sort of that, process that you would say, "Hey, if you're listening, if you fit this, maybe we're a good fit."
Yeah. So it's actually funny you asked. I have on my screen, so I have a computer screen and TV screen when you walk into my office, and I have like just a slideshow of photos. And so I have patients that will come in and just obviously kind of glance up. And on those slideshows, I have me adjusting my niece and nephew, so roughly a couple months old to 2 years old. And then I also have adjusting some grandmas, so grandpas
Yeah.
and pediatric and geriatric patients. And they're always like, "Oh, I didn't know that you could adjust a baby or my granddad." And that's really cool about chiropractic is that there is no discrimination of age. The techniques allow us to adjust everyone specifically, but also carefully. And so obviously for a pediatric patient, we wouldn't be doing the manual adjustments like we would for maybe an older person or an adult, but we have tools that we can use to adjust those people. And so it's really cool being able to adjust someone from 6 weeks old all the way up to 95 years old.
Yeah, and so I feel like over the last handful of years, 3 or 4 years, um, seeing adjustments online has become much more popular.
Yeah.
Like, it's very not trendy, but there is a trend
There's
and
a viral aspect
yes,
to it.
there's a viral aspect to it. When you're looking at growing here in Huntsville, how important or how much is that on your mind when you're thinking about creating content?
Yeah.
When you're like, "Hey, I don't wanna do things that maybe look or are cringy, but also
Right.
knowing that there is a viral aspect of the services you provide to then get people in the door, which is really an organic method. Like, you're creating content organically, you're not necessarily paying for the content to be boosted or be
Right.
seen on a grander scale, but knowing that that kind of content does do well and is shareable. Like, how much is that into your head
Yeah, yeah, and
as you're looking to grow?
I think that goes back into, like, the startup of the business, right? So, being a first-time business owner and having to learn how to work through the nuances of obviously promoting the business, promoting yourself, you have to be engaged and involved in social media in some aspect.
100%.
And so learning that has probably been one of the hardest learning curves of, do I want to be the chiropractor that posts the videos that, may have a comical approach or may have a comical aspect? And I've kinda chosen to balance that between informational videos, so
Mhm.
informative of, if you're dealing with these are some stretches and things that you can do, while also having just a couple short clips of, like, viral sounds and me doing some sort of comical or funny approach that gets people's attention. And so I want people to view our social media account as, 1, informative, um, but also interactive. And so I don't want it to just be so informative that it's
Mm.
kind of a dull scroll. 2, 3-minute long videos are hard to watch, but enough so that a patient can catch my page and say, "Oh, I have been dealing with shoulder pain or neck
Yeah.
pain, and this guy made a funny way of explaining how to do some stretches to help with that." So, yeah, I would say to answer your question, like, social media has been a learning curve.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I'm the best at it, but I'm definitely learning as we go.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough balance because, like you said, you want people to share your stuff, but you also wanna be
Right.
a thought leader in this field that you were in,
Of course.
and so trying to balance that, but also creating content that is enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because there is I think everybody listening or watching has seen some chiropractic
Of
video.
course. And I think it
Like, I
also
mean,
goes.
everybody's seen them put their legs up, make sure their knees are
Yeah.
and then pull their neck. Like,
Yeah.
everybody has seen that video or
Yes.
a video like that 1,000 times.
Yeah. And there's a fine line between, like, I don't mind posting a video of what it is that we do, like a day in the life of what to expect as a new
Yeah.
patient at Apex Chiropractic Functional Wellness, or something along those lines. I don't so far want to go into, like, just strictly the put the mic on someone, adjust them, get the loud
Mm,
pops. I do think that that's interesting and engaging. I don't want it to be my everyday content. I don't want patients to see that and think that's exactly what I'm going to receive, because, like, going back to what we do, it's very specific. So
mm,
this may not be exactly what you get because your presentation slightly differs. So I don't want to put myself in a corner. However, I think it would be really cool to create some content videos of, like, this is what we do for dry needling, and that's kind of what we've done. Here's cupping, this is what that looks like, or this is what kinesiotaping
mm.
looks like. So that way patients can kind of pick and choose and say, oh, I may not like this video so much because I don't resonate with that, but this one sounds really,
Mm.
really cool.
Yeah, and I think, doing those different kind of services, you're finding somebody that's interested in the chiropractic side, someone that's interested in the taping, interested in the cupping.
Right.
They come because of one of the 3, but then they don't realize you do the other 2.
Agreed.
And so you kind of have this like, hey, they come in thinking they need this or that they do this, and then you kind of assess what they actually need, and you're like, "Well, that is beneficial, but I think if we pair this with this,
Right.
you're actually gonna get the best results."
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the coolest thing you get to do is because it's not like I said, it's not a one size fits all.
Right.
Everyone's a little different. There is some overlap, but there is some uniqueness to
Yeah.
it.
I would
Um,
say, for the most part, every patient that comes in is gonna be a slightly different puzzle piece, right? And so, just going back to what you said, not everyone is a one size fits all, and you're gonna have wellness patients who, come in just to continuously feel well. They may not have an acute or chronic presentation, but there's always gonna be some slight nuances between how we address this person, how we engage with them, how we treat with them in regards to, like, a time frame. So if you come in and you have an acute presentation, people always ask, "Well, doc, how many visits am I gonna need to be seen on the phone?" And I always tell them it's really hard to answer that question because it's going to be contingent on, 1, how you move in person,
mm,
how we get some objective measurements. All of these things kind of add up. And so it really does create a very unique and specific visit every time you come in.
yeah, and so 60 days into owning your own business, operating your own business here in Huntsville, if obviously there's a lot you still don't know, there's a lot you're
Of
still
course.
learning, and there's a lot you're kind of learning on the fly. Is there something that you know now 60 days in that you're like, "Man, if Andrew could have known that on day 1, we would have been, 2 steps ahead of where we are today?" Or do you feel as though your growth in the business entrepreneur journey things have kind of you've learned them when you needed to, and there's nothing necessarily that you'd be like, "I wish I would have known that earlier."
Yeah, good question. I don't think that there has been anything in retrospect that would have propelled me to any sort of higher level where I am. Now, obviously, I'm sure I've made some mistakes or maybe taken the long road around some things. But I would say that that's been more beneficial to know now and say, now when I progress consistently, because that's what everyone ultimately does, there's always going to be progression, maybe do this slightly different. But I wouldn't say there's anything that jumps off the page of, man, I really wish I wouldn't have done that or really wish I would have done that differently. Obviously, I wish I would have maybe started my social media campaigns or marketing a little earlier.
Yeah.
And so, but again, I look at it in retrospect, that would have been difficult without having acquired a specific space yet,
Yeah.
right? So
100%.
I couldn't have been, come see me at Apex Chiropractic and Functional Wellness at a location unknown,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so it would have been nice to maybe get that earlier, but I'm super proud and happy with what we've been able to do with the time frame.
Yeah. And so if someone's listening, watching, or seeing a clip or whatever it might be, and they want to connect, they want to find out more, they want to book a consultation, they want to come in, they want to get adjusted, they want to experience everything that we've talked about
Yeah.
and everything that they're seeing, where is the best place to connect?
I would say going to our website first and foremost, being able to kind of get a visual of what our office looks like. We have a gallery there. So kind of getting a feel for what the space looks like, feels like, some of the services that we offer. I have a couple of in-depth articles that explain each service and maybe some services and symptoms that it treats and helps with. So the website would be a great place to go. So it's apexchirowellness.com. You can also give us a call. So I have a personal cell. I answer it all the time. I communicate with patients this way, 256-801-5234. If you have any questions at all, they can give us a call, shoot us a text. I'm always responsive. I'll get back with you same day. But I think the website would be a great place to start. You can book there if you'd like, but it gives you everything that we do at Apex Chiropractic and Functional Wellness and kind of ties in and answers those questions.
Awesome. And we'll be sure to have everything in the episode notes. So if you're listening to this or watching this, the links and everything will be there. You'll see the social media as well. But I appreciate you taking the last little bit to share a little bit about your journey and kind of the journey of the business. I think we'll probably have to have you on in the next year or two as the business grows.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because I think the space is super unique. The Huntsville's growing, and I think kind of the way in which you'll grow with Huntsville growth is going to be interesting and fun to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate you taking the last little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me. This has been awesome. I love talking about, how we can help people and how we can serve the Huntsville community and just be an integral part of the community in a health aspect, and taking care of people is a passion that I have, and super excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, thanks.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Beyond Rockets. Don't forget you can subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen and on YouTube at Beyond Rockets. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Beyond Rockets to stay up to date with new episodes as they are released. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.